Alright, so today we're talking about the Bayer pressure injector that's used for CT. Just a little thing, if you want, come up to the protocol manager. Usually the place will go ahead and have all your protocols set up. It'll tell you how fast you're scanning, you'll have your contrast, you'll saline, contrast, and then saline again, and it'll tell you about how long it'll take. And if you want, once you click the one you like, you can click OK. And then if you need to do any editing, you can always click in, and you can change it to like 2 milliliters a second. You can just click right through as well. And if you need to change any of this, you can. And then we'll get it set up. Now, once we get here, if you want to change any of your pressure limits, you can do that right there. And then once we're ready, we'll go ahead and lock. We'll arm it. And right now we don't have anything set up. If you did, it would pop up with a little warning saying, have you checked to make sure that there's no air in the tubing? If you have, you click OK, and then it'll go ahead and start. It'll be ready to where you can click your little play button here. This will play or it'll pause. If you want to cancel, you can click this red button and it'll cancel. So once you click this play button, it'll go ahead and start injecting 25 milliliters of contrast at 2 seconds. Then it'll give you a little pause, and then you can go double check. You can start your contrast. You can do it either here, you can do it out there. Usually we like to do it out there to make sure nothing's blowing. And then after it injects your 80 milliliters of contrast, it'll go ahead and inject your 35 milliliters of contrast at 2 minutes. Now, if you do ever need to add anything, you can click down here, and then it'll say, do you want to add contrast, flush, or a mixture of both? You can add in a hold or a pause. The pause will give you a time that you can type in. Now, if you ever need to set up a different protocol, there's a couple different ways you can do it. The first way is you can go ahead and find one. You can go into it. You can change this to, say, 4.5 if we want to inject a little faster. And then click back out. And once you do that, you're going to notice it's going to save the 4.5 here. You can just go ahead and click store. And if we do that, it'll give us this, and we can say like 4.5 milliliter abdomen CTA or whatever you need to. And then it'll show up under here. The second way is to come in here, click setup, protocol manager, and then you can add through here.
You guys done need a ring yet?
If you ever need to change all that. In the protocol manager as well, if you ever need to click on something, you can move it up, you can move it down, or you can change the region and say, hey, we actually want this in neck for some reason. You can go ahead and change what location it's in. You can also delete from this area as well. If you just want to go ahead and say you doubled up, you can go ahead and delete. So these are the containers that we use for our saline and contrast. What you can go ahead and do is once you pop it onto the container, you'll go ahead and take this plastic part off. You'll take this blue cap off, and then it just sticks on there. It'll turn and it'll look like this one here. Once you're ready to put your contrast and saline in, you'll pop off this little cap, and then you'll be able to stick them on there. And then after it's already pumped up all the saline, and you have your little cap here, all you have to do is pop off this, go ahead and stick your tubing on the end here, and then once it's in there, you're going to have 2 sides. You got your short side and then your long side. The short side's going to screw onto the contrast. This long side's going to be screwed onto your saline part. And here's our injector, so whenever you are popping it on like this, all you have to do is just press down, some you press down and turn. And once you go ahead and do that, it'll start pushing that syringe up. Down here at the bottom, these little knobs are going to be turning. And then once it gets all the way up to the top, it's going to go ahead and say 0. And that's when you can put on your saline. So your saline's going to go to the blue one. Think of it like this is basically water, water's blue. And then your contrast, you're just going to pop on top of here. And then you'll go ahead and get a preset. Now, if you set up on the terminal correctly, when you go to auto load, it should pop up with the exact numbers that you need to. Now it's going to give it a little bit more saline. Over here, it's going to give it a little more saline, and it's going to give it a little more contrast than you need. So I have it set up as 50 for the saline, 100 as a contrast. And that's just because once you go ahead and put this topper on the contrast and the long one on the saline, then you're going to want to prime your injector. So you click this prime button, it'll go ahead and shoot a little bit of contrast and a little bit of the saline through the tubing, so there's no air, so we're not injecting air into the patient. And so that's going to take away about 5 milliliters of your contrast, and then it'll have it set up exactly to 50 and to 100. Now, if you did want to manually fill up your tubing, what you can do is go ahead and click the move piston, and then you can just go ahead and hold down. It'll slide it down, or it'll push it up, and you just kind of hold it. You get it to your amount that you're trying for. So if you're trying to pull out 80 milliliters of contrast, you just hold it down until it gets to 80, and you should be fine. If you want, you can go ahead and arm it after that. So arming is going to go ahead and lock in, and that's just confirming that we don't have any air bubbles in our injector. If you want to go ahead and click that play button, it'll start injecting. If you need to pause it, you can click here, or if you just want to cancel altogether, you'll click that as well.